Have I oppressed you? Have I oppressed your people somehow? I'll tell you what your problem is. You don't like me because you're a racist.
What?
You're a racist. You don't like me because I'm white.
With this LA thing, you famous or something?
Yeah, for about 5 minutes.
Don't tell me, Rodney King, right?
The theme of race is very important in Vengeance. It's actually the main subplot of the story. Race relations between Black Americans and the police, especially white cops, something that has been a hot-button topic for decades in America, is the primary issue the movie is commenting on. One major moment that sparked race relations in America at that time was the Rodney King beating in 1991. Several Los Angeles police officers were videotaped violently hitting King after a lengthy police chase. The cops were found not guilty, and days of race riots ensued in downtown LA. That was in April of 1992. Another pivotal moment revolving around race was the O.J. Simpson trial, again in Los Angeles. O.J. was accused of murdering his ex-wife and her male friend in June of 1994. His murder trial was termed the trial of the century for its allowance of courtroom cameras and its racially charged elements that Simpson's team exploited for his acquittal. It divided the country and was a landmark moment in race relations in America. The trial went from January 1995 to October of that year. A major reason for O.J.'s freedom was of racist language spewed by Detective Mark Furman, who was recorded admitting that Los Angeles police officers commonly plant evidence and use physically brutal tactics on their suspects. We see the distrust and overall hatred of white police officers and the police system in the Zeus Carver character, played by the legendary Samuel L. Jackson.
I stopped a white cop from getting killed in Harlem. One white cop gets killed today, tomorrow we got 1,000 white cops.
Jackson's star was rising for some time in the early 90s with Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, Juice, and of course Pulp Fiction, which also starred Bruce Willis.
Big Kahuna Bird.
Following the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968, Jackson was an usher at his funeral. Shortly after that, he held a few trustees hostage at Morehouse College, one of whom was actually MLK's father. Jackson demanded more black representation on the college's governance level. He was convicted with a felony and eventually fell in with the Black Power movement of the times, where he bought guns and prepared for a racial revolution. So Jackson playing a character like Zeus, who has resentment for the powers that be, like the police, and specifically police who are white, is not a far stretch from his real-life views. But while Zeus expresses his racial opinions in the story, his actions prove otherwise. He considers himself and his community to be victims of white police racism. A big part of the story is convincing the Zeus character he's wrong.
So who's gonna help?
We're gonna help ourselves.
And who do we not want to help us?
White people.
That's right.
He tells his nephews to refuse any help from white people, but then ironically investigates John as he's wearing a sign with a racist slur. He doesn't aggressively approach John.
Morning. Good morning. You having a nice day, sir? You feeling all right?
Zeus enters the situation trying to defuse a potentially deadly outcome. Although Zeus' character represents an element always ready for a racial fight, his character tries to bring a healing to that racial divide. He knows that if the group of black men on the steps see John, they'll kill him. So rather than leaving John be and watching him get murdered, Zeus grabs John's gun and uses it against the guys attacking them. After all, they do cut Zeus. It might have been accidental, but they hurt him nonetheless. Although John is not racist, as we've seen his genuine friendship with Sergeant Al Powell from Los Angeles, John does resort to fueling Zeus's hatred for white cops after Zeus refuses to help him. He lies to Zeus about where the police found that bomb. It was Chinatown, but John says Harlem to Zeus.
You know where that park is at 115th Street in St. Nicholas?
Yeah, it's in Harlem.
Where do you think we found that bomb?
It was wrong, but it convinced Zeus to help. After all, the bigger problem they're fighting isn't Zeus's distrust for white cops, it's the mad bomber Simon. There's a good moment between Zeus and John just before they engage in their first riddle together. John doesn't like the way Zeus handles the situation, so he chastises him, but then quickly admits that he needs him, which is very true.
Alright, I need you more than you need me.
Zeus might be morally obligated in some way, but he's not legally bound to solve the case like John. and it's because of Zeus's active involvement here that highlights his desire to have positive race relations with white cops. Zeus even saves the white cop in the subway after he pointed a gun at him. He tells the rude man to get away from the incoming subway train too. Zeus is not racist. He's prejudiced, sure, but not racist. His actions prove this. He might be a bit sensitive, which could be understandable. When they're attempting to solve the briefcase bomb at the fountain is when racial tensions come to a head. They have an argument and Zeus claims John was going to call him a racial slur.
Put up your head, you dumb mother. Say it, say it. You were gonna call me a nigga, weren't you?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you were. What were you gonna call me?
Asshole!
It's what Zeus says here that is key.
I don't like you because you're gonna get me killed.
That fear of death is at the crux of the entire racial tension in this movie. It's the first thing Zeus says when he sees John wearing the sign.
Now you got about 10 seconds before those guys see you. When they do, they will kill you, you understand?
The race element goes further than just name-calling and accusations of bigotry. It's the worry that it could explode, literally in this case, to someone dying over racial tensions. They rejoice in racial unity when they work together to disarm the bomb. They finally discuss the race element that had been bubbling since they met, and they got through it.
Get it down there, shit!
Die Hard with a Vengeance handles the topic and depiction of race relations very well. It isn't sloppy in its writing or acting. The story faces race head-on. It wants you, the viewer, to confront race, and to even be uncomfortable with it while doing so, which is the story's real intention. It takes the highly charged racial problem of the mid-90s and shows you how to solve it by working together for the greater good. The ending to Vengeance shuts the door on the John McClane character nicely. If the series ended right there, it would have been fine. He began the story as a drunkard who lost his family and job. It's only his forced involvement by Simon that John regains his position as a police officer from his suspension. And it's through conversation with Zeus that he finds the nerve to swallow his pride to call Holly and begin repairing his marriage. The Zeus character is just as important, if not more important, than John in this story. Zeus, and by extension Black America, is shown that not all cops are racist. Zeus symbolizes the moral compass that John as a man, a white police officer, and the American collective must confront to learn from their mistakes. I don't think Die Hard with a Vengeance gets the respect it deserves as a sequel in the series. The first one is so iconic that the others can't help but get overshadowed. I think the tour around New York as Zeus and John solve Simon's riddles is a great way to show how special New York is, while also forcing them, and by extension the viewer, to bond, learn, and grow from one another. So what do you think about Die Hard with a Vengeance? Where does it fall in your ranking of the series? Does my breakdown help you understand the film any better? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to follow me on social media. Take care.
The name Gruber mean anything to you, Lieutenant?
Rings a bell, yeah.